There we go, we're live. How are we doing, guys? All good, I hope. Just getting myself sorted out here. Hope you've all had a good week. Mishmash of weather. Every time I turn this on, nothing bloody works. Where are we? And are we there? Here we go. One part working. Fingers crossed, touch wood. It's not been technology messing us up recently, it's been us. Here we go. Here we go, we're on. We're on, ready to rock and roll. On that one, on that one. Oh, let's turn the volume down. Download a button. Boom, done, sorted. Just wait for Big Boss Man, and here he comes.
Here I. Has the notification gone out on Facebook? I didn't hear it ping.
I never get a notification there. I just wait till I can see it. That's the point. I don't ever get a notification there.
I think we're on funny. I just want to see if Philip has gone off yet. Yeah, so we can go. Glasses on, so I can have some form of seeing. And that's on. And that's boo, 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 boo. If you could let us know you're there, guys, if you're watching over on Facebook or YouTube, that would be good.
It's now time for you to sit back.
Put a notification in the comments if you can see us. If you're watching on Facebook, could you let us know? That would be great. Well, I've got a thumbs up, but I don't know if that's coming from Facebook or not. Good evening, guys, and welcome to Journey Through the Unexplained, live and exclusive on Pulse Talk Radio, YouTube, and Facebook. It's Thursday, the 25th of April, and I can see it's like an epiphany moment. I can see Paranormal Paul in front of me. I do believe I can see names popping up on the screen. Mandy Rogers, hello there, Mandy. So thank you for letting us know that you are in the chat. I just want to say a massive thank you to the lovely Philip Solomon that has taken us through the last couple of hours over on Pulse Talk Radio. You're a great show as always. Hope you're doing well, Philip, and thank you for sort of keeping, he's been sending me a couple of messages regarding my eyes and saying thank you and everything, like, look, saying healing sense. So a massive thank you to Philip as well. But as my wonderful co-host, Mr. Paranormal Paul, is also with us. Good evening, Mr. Paranormal Paul.
Good evening. How are we doing? All good?
All good in the hood. It's amazing what a week makes, because it was a pretty much car crash radio last week. Everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. Let's just say that. It was funny. It was funny. I watched back and I just thought, oh my God, what actually happened? And when you went off air last week, I had never been such like a rabbit in headlights because I just did know what was happening. I couldn't see anything. It's all I could see was messages coming down the page to say yes, 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 but I couldn't see them. I just could not see them.
You were struggling, weren't you, last week?
But no, we've got glasses on this week. Thank you to, but you say my eyes do look magnified, don't they? Like, ooh. But thank you for Simon for lending me these amazing glasses, just to get us through the show and at least reading something. It was great. How's your week been anyway, Paul? All right?
Busy, 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 as always, which is good. I'm not complaining. Keeps me going, keeps me on my toes. But yeah, I must admit, I'm feeling it at the end of the day at the moment. But it's got to be an age thing. I don't usually think of myself with getting old, but I seem to be struggling a bit more and more.
But I've had this conversation with a couple of people over the last couple of days, and today I had never felt so tired like I'd done for a long, long time. Today was sort of a day where I generally just don't know what was. There was something in the air today. I'm telling you, there was something in the air today with regarding to being tired.
My hay fever seems to be getting worse every year. I never had hay fever. It's only the last sort of 5 years I've suffered with hay fever. And every year it just seems to be getting worse and worse. And it starts earlier and finishes later. But that's what does me. It's my eyes. My eyes start stinging, and it's like the sand in them. And that's it. I've just got to shut them and go to bed then. That's what does me at the moment.
And that's crazy. That is crazy to me because you look outside the window, it's peeing down the rain, it's freezing cold, and you're not the only one that has said to me, my hay fever's bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I thought like hay fever was like a summer thing.
Yeah, when you cut the grass and all that. But I didn't realise, I must admit, I'm quite naive of me really, because I'd never suffered with it. My wife was always really bad with it. But she said she gets it more in the summer. My youngest daughter, she suffers like me. She has it sort of all year round. But yeah, it ain't pleasant. But I don't have it as bad as what a lot of people do, and I don't get it as bad as what my wife does in the peak of summer. So yeah, got to be grateful for that, I suppose.
But hay fever, I must admit, touch wood and whistle. I've never had to suffer from hay fever. Good job I didn't, being 14 years as working as a gardener. I think that would have killed me. But no, I've never had that. Obviously when we've cut certain bushes and certain things like that, my eyes have become swollen and things like that. So I sort of get what you're coming, where you're coming from, or dry seasons where the grass was really dry.
I didn't realise how many different types of pollen there were, and how many different types of pollen can affect different people.
Well, my old boss was allergic to grass. Work that out.
Oh God.
worked for a grounds maintenance team, and he was allergic. So good evening, Heidi. Welcome to the show all the way from Denmark.
Good evening.
All the interviews are coming in thick and fast for Heidi. Been reading on her Facebook. And if you don't know who the lovely Heidi Hansen is, she's a great author, guys. She's a great author. Let me just get my plug in here for Heidi. She produces books like this, Life with Supernatural Events, and many more. This is book 3 of the series. So if you haven't already got it, why haven't you already got it? That is why I'm asking you why. Give it a read, give it a follow, and go and follow her all on her social medias and get ordering, guys. Must get that book ordering. It's a really great read, very personal and in-depth encounters, not only with the supernatural, with UFOs and things like that, but spirit, God, and things like that. So make sure you're definitely heading out. I think you can get them on Amazon, and I think the website is God Inspire One. But I'm hoping Heidi will put that up in the chat for everybody to go and get ordering. Okay, yeah, they're on Amazon. So yeah, make sure you go. Number one, the book Life with Supernatural Events, Volume 1, is a really good, fantastic starting block. I know it's the first one in the series, obviously, but it is a really good. There's some really great stories, and that's how we know Heidi from that book. She came and did an interview with us. So yeah, there is the link, guys. So make sure you go and sort of figure that one out and get all the books and everything like that. Order every single one, guys. All right, every single one. Right, so it is time to crack on with the show. We've done our 10 minutes of talking absolute garbage, and well, Heidi's bit wasn't garbage. That's
yeah.
that was the plan.
You dug yourself right in there, didn't
I did. Yeah, I didn't mean it like that sign. So Heidi's is the important bit, but us talking about our week's work has been crazy at the moment. So see, sorry guys, my chat has just come in. My chat has just come up on my Facebook. There is something definitely not right with Facebook at the moment. That in itself, I do think it's on its last legs. I really do feel like Facebook is on its last legs at the moment, because I think a lot of people are getting a little bit peed off with it. The algorithms are really harsh at the moment.
It's just adverts as well, isn't it? Everything. I don't see a lot. To be honest, I'm not on it that often, Facebook now. You don't see any of your friends on there much anymore. It's always adverts. It's
crazy. It's just not right.
Nah.
It's not right. It's just, I don't know if do you remember MySpace?
Never used it.
Do you remember MySpace?
I remember it. I never really used it.
Yeah, see, I used it, and that was like what Facebook once was. Do you know? And it was just a good platform. It was just a good platform. Facebook once was a good platform. Probably that's why we ain't getting no algorithms, because it's just us slagging Facebook off every 5 minutes. But no, it's just not good. And I wish there was some like StreamYard and things like this that you could use to get your name out there more. Like there's better platforms like TikTok and Instagram where you can go live, but StreamYard doesn't support them in a way that Facebook and YouTube does. But I'm sure that will come. There'll be a company out there looking into it and doing everything they possibly can to make it work better for everybody. But no, right, it's time to crack on with the show. And Paul is going to start us off this week, because I sent a message to Paul this morning, like we normally do every week. And I say, Paul, have you got anything that you want to talk about? And Paul says, no, we can just normally talk about anything. So that's normally how we wing it. But this week, Paul come back and said, yes, I would like to start the show off because I have something I want to talk about, which was great. Absolutely fantastic, because then that means we can go down as many rabbit holes as we want tonight and where it could lead us. So, Mr. Paranormal Paul, I'm handing it over to you, and let's start the show. And welcome to Journey Through the Unexplained.
Thank you. Yeah, I forgot what I was going to talk about. No, mate, but I wish it was something bigger the way you built it up then, Russ. And it's really not. It was more a fact I wanted someone's opinion, your opinion, and the listener's opinion on this. So, at the weekend, I think it was Friday night, I was going to my usual go-to film, Interstellar. I love that film. I've watched it many times. It was on. I think I was doing a bit of TikToking or something, and I see it was starting, so I put it on. And as usual, I started getting into it, watching it. And I don't know, have you seen Interstellar?
Is Interstellar the one? I think I have seen it.
Matthew McConaughey. The Earth's sort of on its knees. The atmosphere's gone and nothing's growing. They need to try and find a way of surviving. And the way they survive is to try and leave Earth and find another planet or that humans can survive on?
I'm just trying to see if I can remember. No, I haven't seen that one.
Oh,
I haven't seen it.
oh, right. This time, Russ, I know I said you got to watch They Live, the old 80s classic,
Yeah.
but Interstellar is well worth a watch. Thank you, Heidi. When you, especially doing this kind of show, you know, when it comes to space and things, it's to me, it's quite a realistic film, so to say. And apparently, a lot of scientists agreed with the way they put the film together. And I think apparently 3-4 scientific papers were put out due to that film when they were making it and trying to do the wormhole and the black hole and things like that in the film. They discovered other things that they managed to create 3 other scientific papers out of it. Great film, I love it. Anyway, there's a part in it. I'll try not to give it away too much for people that haven't seen it and do want to watch it. But so basically, NASA's sort of null and void. Everyone thought NASA was dead and buried, but they wasn't. They basically just went underground and carried on. I think they've been working in secret for about 20, 30 years. Matthew McConaughey plays an ex-NASA pilot. He gets brought into them, and basically he thinks he's in a big underground base, and it's not. It's a big space station that one day they hope to be able to get off of Earth and into space to survive. So obviously not everyone on Earth, just a select few with crops, animals, that sort of thing. And so it basically goes through the wormhole, goes through the black hole, comes back 75 years later. His daughter's an old lady, but she'd done it. Now, it just got me thinking. It reminded me of Mark Ollie.
Yeah.
When you had him on the show, and he was talking about ancient civilizations.
Yeah.
How did we have such superior technology back then? And it all just disappeared. Now, his theory was maybe a volcanic eruption, earthquake, or something wiped all these things out. But all these ancient civilizations all seem to have evidence that they studied the stars, they knew the stars. In some of the hieroglyphs and carvings you find in ancient civilizations, there's pictures of spaceships, sometimes astronauts, that type of thing, which always led us to believe there was some kind of time travel.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
what if they were at the stage where they are in the film Interstellar? And I was sitting there watching it thinking, what if something happened on Earth and these people with their advanced technologies knew that they had to leave the planet or perish? What if they did? What if that's the reason these civilizations just sort of disappeared?
So I'm a little bit lost in what you're saying, but let me try and just see if I can.
Yeah, I've sort of gone round the houses a bit. I'm trying to put in bits of the film that you'd understand. So it's all going through at 100 miles an hour.
So is what you're saying is these civilizations, like maybe past civilizations,
yes,
have got to a point where they can travel and then they just go.
No, maybe they had to go.
Right, got you. So they may have.
You know, when you're looking at even recently with the technology they got with the satellites now, they can sort of take pictures of underground, can't they? And they've noticed in many parts of the world that there's underground cities, and a lot of people believed it was the mud flood with the Tartarians and things like that covered a lot of these things up. But you know, if there was some kind of natural disaster or man-made disaster at that time, and they thought, we are not going to survive this, we have to go. I mean, in the film Interstellar, there was a lot of dust in the air. You know, everything was covered in dust, and constantly having to clean up. So if that was going for, let's say, 100 years, how long is it going to take to build, you know, 20, 30 foot of earth on top of a city? So if something like that happened to these ancient civilizations, what if they then did leave? And what we're discovering now is some of their intelligence that, you know, we can't reproduce now to some degree. How did they have such advanced star maps?
I get what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean? What if that's where they went? Because there's been no remains found of them in these cities. They're deserted cities.
So let's, you know, okay, for the benefit of my head,
Yeah.
Okay, are we looking at maybe potentially like places like Atlantis? If we believe in Atlantis,
yeah, possibly.
I believe a place called, what is it, Puka is another ancient city, or believed derelict city, like some of the, you know,
Even
especially
some of the places in the Amazon, they're finding cities in the Amazon now that are completely overgrown.
dwellings, aren't they? Yeah.
And I think they found them through the satellite imaging. Excuse me.
Yeah, because there's a program on Discovery called, I think it's not really what it sounds like. It's called Snake Island. Don't know if you've watched it.
No.
But they're looking for like lost treasure, and they've gone into sort of the Amazon and found this like whole sort of colony of just overgrown buildings. So yeah, I do get what you're saying. So it could be where there's been, like, it's like, as you say, natural disaster. They've had the ability to leave, but they must be able to know where they're going.
Possibly, yeah. So in the film, they discovered that this black hole by Saturn. Basically, I think it was 20 years before they've sent these out, and he's saying, you know, how do you know where to go? We said, well, we discovered this black hole, which they assumed would lead on to another galaxy, universe. And basically, it turned out that 10, 20 years prior, they'd sent 10 different astronauts out in 10 different spaceships through this wormhole. And they've had a message come back from one. So that was their job, to then go and find them, to find out if he'd found that planet that is the closest to ours, that they can grow food, you know, there's water, air's breathable, an Earth-like planet. That sort of thing. So, you know, when it comes to the things that, if that did happen, how they got there, how they knew it was there, I don't know. And I'm not saying it was the same scenario as in the wormhole and this and that. But, you know, there's, how many times you've heard about Planet X is meant to be our closest, you know.
Yeah.
It was just, as I was watching it, it got to that point, and I think it because Michael Caine's in it, and he was the one running the NASA space station. And the way they were saying, you know, we are not going to survive. This is our only hope. Well, there was two options. You know, they had a load of sort of embryos and that, so but a bit like the Matrix. It's all going to be all the what's the word? like cryogenics type thing, it's all frozen eggs and this and that, all ready to go to repopulate and things like that. Or we find another planet that we can sort of, not the whole of the planet are going to go with them, just a select few. But it's a starting block to keep the human race from going. And, when people say our DNA is, they reckon our DNA's alien. So that brings you've got another two options there. Maybe someone did come back when the Earth had settled down and it was habitable again.
Well, okay, then I get what you're saying. I can see it all. It's just where this is my brain starts to go now. This is where my brain starts to go. What's to say we're not the planet that we've inhabited?
100%. That as well. But this is what I'm saying. That scenario or this scenario.
Because then that would make us alien, like they're saying, because there is that conspiracy of that we weren't of here. We've overtaken this planet. And that makes it's a very good point and I like it. I like it.
The main thing that done me with that was Mark Hoddy just jumped straight in my head when he was saying about the ancient civilizations. Where did they go? How did all these great empires in these ancient civilizations that had far superior space knowledge and architecture knowledge and earth energy knowledge, how did it all just stop? And he was saying, okay, man's probably the greatest threat. You go and find something you don't understand, or a group of people who don't understand, wipe them out. But surely their technology would have come along with them. And it all sort of got stopped and squashed.
It almost feels like it. The stopped and squashed is it gets us to a point. It takes us to a point, and then it reverts itself again. It almost feels like that doesn't matter how far we go as a race of human, what we are now, it will always stop at the point they want it to stop at.
And then reboot, start again.
Maybe they've had all this before. Maybe they've had all this before. The screens, the mobile phones. How many times have we seen, the pictures of, what they call time travelers with certain people walking through the square with the mobile phone to their ear? What's to say that is like the reboot mechanism? It's been there, because we only see one person on their phone in that picture doesn't mean they haven't all got their phones.
Yeah.
Because we're only seeing one person on it. Okay, it's different in nowadays because every man and their dog are on their phone. Absolutely on their phone all the time. But civilizations will be slightly different.
And as well, we more so now, I say me definitely, especially since doing this show, never knew just how much of our history has been wiped, hidden, rewritten. It's been very corrupted, our history. I think, things have only been sort of.
If we are talking of that extent, do you not feel that if this does work in, if this is what you may be thinking, it's working, it get to a point where it's time to move on, that no matter what has ever happened, history will always be what they want us to believe.
Yeah.
When
I say they, it's the ruling elite of the times.
Yes, and I'm not going to sit. I'm not going to sit here and say, obviously, you know, all the wars that have gone on over the past sort of 100 years that haven't existed and things like that. Well, we can categorically say they did exist, because there is people still living that went through them horrendous times. So we're not talking about sort of history of the last 100 years, but we're sort of talking about history beyond history that's beyond history. You know, maybe if we go back to, you know, the times of the Bible, what the Bible is with Jesus and what we're led to believe there, you know.
But even with the last 100 years, I'm not saying that these things didn't happen. I'm just saying that, you know, the parts that you're taught now is it's got to follow a narrative in every single way. You know, look at the arguments now, even with Israel, Gaza, Russia, Ukraine. You know, on the mainstream side of things, it's very one-sided. You always get that one side of, yeah. So, and I'm not saying 100. What, there's a lot of it with the Second World War, First World War. You're always told the same things again and again.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm not saying good or bad and this and that, but there's been some definite twisting and atrocities on both sides, this and that, but it's always very one-sided.
Very much.
You always get told what they want you to be told, and that's what happened. No ifs, no buts.
But that is become more and more evident throughout time.
Yeah.
This is becoming more and more evident when, and I don't, you know, I really don't like using this term. I don't know why. It just isn't me. But you use it. But the awakening, you know, this awakening factor of what we're seeing, people are more open-minded to it. But I can't, you know, this show I don't think would have worked pre-COVID.
No.
Yes, there's conspiracies, always been conspiracies over conspiracies. And we're talking about, you know, the conspiracies that allowed to happen. You know, let's talk about, obviously, you know, the JFK conspiracy. You know, the evidence is quite evident if you look into it and look into it in a realistic way, that the person who shot JFK wasn't the person who shot JFK. And that's not me sitting here making a, you know, the evidence is there for you to follow.
Yeah.
Go and follow it. Just dig it. Okay, we can talk about if Elvis is dead, you know, and things like that. You know, Michael Jackson is now the one that isn't dead. We've always had them conspiracies, but never to the depth and of extreme that we have had them to this day and age, like this point of time. Yeah. And this is what I'm saying. The COVID era has an effect on both levels. You know, I think the people of the show quite know where we stand with the COVID. And, you know, within the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a good friend on that we met on Saturday night to come on and have a chat with us about COVID and just put another opinion across. But if we look at, you know, go back through time, the main conspiracy, the moon landing, you know, it was always just mainstream conspiracies. And when I say mainstream conspiracies, are the ones that they don't tend to hide.
Yeah.
Or try to cover up. I do feel nowadays, after COVID, there's a lot more out there that they don't like people to talk about.
But it's funny you mentioned the moon landings, though, Russ. Sorry for jumping in. But, you know, I'm a great believer in you always getting messages in films. You know, they've done, I forget the names of the films now, but, you know, they've done the sort of the COVID film, the fires, you know, and the train crashes in America, And another one's coming out about the moon landings, NASA and the moon landings. And basically, in the film, it's all about the space race between USA and Russia. And it comes down to it, we cannot let the Russians win. So they end up hiring a big warehouse and faking the moon landings, shooting it in a studio. And it's like, well...
But it's quite, it is, I do feel it is, I'm really sit on the fence with the moon landing. I sit on it, and I normally got an opinion on it. Normally, if I got an opinion on the moon landing, but the moon landing for me, it's like, I just don't know how they've done it without it being proven that it was faked. And I get it all. I do get it all. Money, threats, everything like that. But I still, and how they've shut it.
The more time goes on, the more I truly believe they never happened. Even now, when I watch back at some of the original footage, I mean...
But I get that, Paul. I do get that. That's why I sit on the fence with it, because my head, or is it my heart? One of the two goes one way and the other one goes the other way. And it's not about, my heart isn't saying, oh, I really hope they did land on the moon and blah, blah, blah. No, it's nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with that, because I wasn't born in that time. I never saw the television program or the footage that was going out live at that time. So it has no sentimental value to me.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It doesn't, it's not, if someone was to say to it, come out and officially prove that it was fake, it doesn't derail me. But I do think it would have a detrimental effect on them people who watched it and made a part of their growing up sitting there watching it with their families, and that's all been taken away as a fake.
Yeah.
That has a detrimental effect on people. Not to say that they care about that side of things, but I do feel it's very finely balanced. It's something that I know that there's evidence out there that no different to any other evidence. It's someone's anecdotal evidence that, as we say on this show, it fits right within here and in here. It's like, well, actually, it sounds right and it looks right. It feels right. And how many times have I said to you, sort of when you send me some videos, it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And this one is I suppose it's the only conspiracy that I will sit there and hand on my heart and say, I couldn't give you a definitive answer. Something tells me it was fake, but on my other shoulder saying it's impossible because it's just the biggest. We're talking about every other country. If this was a balance between beating Russia, to it, then Russia haven't gone full bore out to disprove this. They've accepted it. China, all the other countries have accepted this. Even if they was to send another person to the moon, like Russia, say if they send another person to the moon next week, they won't come out and say, this is the official moon landing. This is the first person that's ever stood on moon. It just wouldn't happen.
No.
And this is where I sit with it. But I watch all that footage. I listen to all them videos. I watch them videos. And I'm thinking, they're right in what they're saying. Why is the flag moving? Why is there a shadow? Why is this and why is that? And who's filming the shuttle coming down?
Yeah, where was the rover on the actual lunar module?
I get all that. But then in my other part of my head, it doesn't work like that. It's the only really the only conspiracy that I am really like at loggerheads with, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Because I've normally got an opinion on everything. You know, I'll have some form of, you know, yeah, like I say to you, no, I'm not too sure on that one, you know, but this one is a real hard, like, toss up. Would it, you know, I suppose the only way you would know is if you could get in a time capsule, go back in time, jump on the spacecraft and actually do it yourself. That's the only way you're going to prove it.
Mm.
The only way you're going to prove it. But I don't know. Anyone in the chat, guys? What's your take on the moon landing? Do you think it's real? You've only got to put real, fake. You actually believe it. But then I think that just goes down a massive rabbit hole because is the moon actually real itself? You know,
You're questioning if you always say you don't believe the moon's real, yet you're struggling to think that we landed on the moon.
But it was really odd on, I think it was Sunday night. You know, because over in the UK, we've had quite cold weather for this time of year, but the nights have been really clear. The nights have been really clear. And for the first time this year, I've had the hot tub on, even though it was cold, but that's more exciting. Do you know what I mean? So I sat in that hot tub on Sunday night late and I looked up at that moon and all of a sudden the clouds went across the moon and it went really dark. And then when the moon come out the other side, it come really light again. And it really felt like someone was turning down the dimmer switch while the cloud went across it. And as the cloud come up, you know, it was like one of them intelligent moonlights or something. It was really odd. It was really odd. I'm sitting there thinking, that don't look real. There's something not right. It feels like someone is turning the kitchen light on and off because something's just got across it. It was really weird. Sandra has put the moon is real.
What about the moon landing, Sandra?
Yeah, the moon landings. But no, I do get where you're coming from, though, Paul. I do get it with, you know, going back to, you know, the subject in question. I generally feel from what you've said, and as I just said to you, going with my heart and going with my gut here, is that potentially that we could be the people that have come from a planet of disruption like that and habited it here.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, one of the, what was it? I can't remember his name. One of the fellas that has the same fault as that. You know, we was not meant to live on this planet. You know, the sun burns our skin. We're the only living creature on this planet, I think, that cannot stay out in the sun as it burns our skin. Whether that's an over time thing with more so the white man, I don't know. But he did give some other examples, but that was the one that stuck out to me. How have we sort of evolved on a planet for hundreds of thousands of years and the sun still burns your skin? I thought, well, that makes a bit of sense.
But
what was that, sorry? Moon landing?
It's before Sandra's time, apparently. But if we use your Interstellar film as you know, if we go back to sort of, I think we use David Icke as a talking point here. Obviously, he called people reptilians and lizard people. Now, lizard people are the people think along the lines of were here before us.
Yeah.
This was their planet, and we've taken this over. That fits now to this interstellar film plot of where we have come from as an abrasive nation, which, for all intents and purposes, just look how we are as a human throughout the world. The power, the hurt that we want to cause. Now, yeah, as Paul's touched on this, you know, the wars that are currently going on now, it just proves that there is no humanity, and doesn't matter what has gone on, you know, with Ukraine and Russia, you know, Israel and Hamas and all that sort of Palestinian stuff. It doesn't take away the fact that people are dying for people's belief in what they believe in. And that is just the power of humanity. And that is the being of humanity. There has to be hurt somewhere. Now, this would be, say, if it was just like you said, Paul, and if, you know, if we take the film Interstellar, I assume it was just, you know, a group of people, probably a maximum of 10 people that they find and take over the planet or start to build or whatever happens. Is that right? Would that be about
No,
right?
well, they don't actually make it to another planet. When he comes back at the end, he was on the space station that was at the time on Earth when he left. But they couldn't figure out how to get it off the Earth. And that was one of the things that he had to try and solve on his journey, which he did. And when he went through the wormhole, he managed to go back in time through sort of like quantum physics and all that, and give a code to his daughter, who thought she had a ghost when she was a kid. The books kept falling off the shelf. And it was actually him in the future who went through the wormhole, went back in time, and managed to somehow, and this is what I said to you before about the spiritual side of things.
I have seen this film. I swear I've seen this film.
Yeah, watch it again, refresh your memory, because it's such a good film. And to be honest with you, I mean, I've seen it so many times, and every time I watch it, there's something else that I've never clicked before. And this is where this sort of, it just hit me on Saturday. It's never crossed my mind before about that side of it. I've always looked at when we talk about the time travel and the spiritual side of things, and being on that other sort of parallel time-lapse universe and this and that, it never crossed my mind to even think of it in the way that we're discussing now. So
that scene alone is ringing bells. I do believe now I have seen this film.
I know I've mentioned it quite a few times on this show, that scene, purely because of what I've just said, you know, the parallel universe, the timelines, this, that, the spirit side of things.
Yeah, I think that's why I've seen it. That just rings a bell so much to me, that scene. I think it just clicked into my head. And that's, you know, it just everything that feels, if we're saying that, you know, we have to get, you know, maybe not, you know, we may have to move. I get all that. You know, let's be fair that if we're talking openly, that I think they're already planning that by the feel of it, isn't it? You know, they're trying to get, they're telling us they're trying to get to Mars. They're telling us they're trying to get to here. They're trying to get to there. They're sending things out more and more.
But I remember them introducing the crew to the Mars. They were never going to make it back, were they? They were going to send a crew to Mars. And I remember seeing the woman, I think she was English. And you never heard anything else about it.
No.
And then someone said, oh, no, yeah, they had to cancel the mission because of this. Did they, though? Or was it a secret go-ahead in case they never made it, or they something went wrong.
Well, let's just, for all intents and purposes of it, and the way we are in this world at the moment is a one-way mission.
Yeah.
You're going to die. Simple as. How, you're sending, you've got NASA or whoever's dealing with this program that's dealing with it, and they're sending people to their death. How are they physically going to get away with that? I don't know. But I suppose contracts and things would be signed. But you know what I mean by saying.
Well, I think it would depend on the individual. I mean, they all knew that they were never going to be coming back once they left, and they had all accepted that. Might be a different story once there's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 lift off. There's no time for second thoughts then.
That's it. Yeah, you've gone then, haven't you? You're on the way.
Yeah.
But no, but it feels to me that they're already doing that. You know what I mean? They're already if it is time for us, not at the moment time for us to go, but I'm pretty sure that how many movies that we had over the years, was it 2012 and the end of the world, the apocalyptic films, you had the 10 arcs film. What was the arcs film? Remember that one when they were building all the arcs for the big?
That was 2012, wasn't it?
Was it 2012?
Yeah, that was 2012.
Yeah, something like that. That sort of film. That sort of a film that is preparing us for that sort of motion. It feels right. In that could be the case of, but what does feel right for me is that we've already done this.
Yeah,
we've already done this. The more you talk to people, and there is other species. We know that now. We've got no evidence of it, but I know there's extraterrestrials out there. I know they're walking amongst us. Where and how is another question. Where do they come from? Don't know. But it's just very, very strange. I know Joe. I don't know if Joe is listening or tonight, but Joe, you always, he was very reptilian favoured. That was his, that was his thing, and I'd never not necessarily ever believed in the lizard type people, like people that look like lizards, but perhaps they were. Perhaps they were people like lizards. That was their, I know that there was I think there's somewhere written about crossbreeding with the reptilians.
Yes, I heard something about that.
I also believe there was something written about as well the slavery of the reptilians, or was it slavery of us? I can't remember which way around it was. So yeah, and we talk about this technology that gets reset. We can't take everything, can we?
Well, no, this is the thing, and this is what I struggle with as well, because we've done shows on so many different topics, and you're saying like extraterrestrials, we've done the flat Earth show, apparently we can't leave the Earth because of the firmament, and the Antarctic Circle is a circle around us at the moment, but there are little gateways leading onto other continents and other places, which they're calling, that's the extraterrestrials, because they're coming from them far off lands and things like that. Well, that's completely quashed on this theory. That's non-existent on this theory. This theory, then we're going back to the Earth as a globe and this and that. So there's always a different, like you say, rabbit hole to go down. Okay, but that scenario might fit with that, but it doesn't fit with that. And if you go with that scenario, then it completely wipes out what we agreed on that scenario. You know, you're in constant battle with all these different ideas and theories. No one's going to know for one way for sure. It's what's his name? That in the original Iron Man 1, the general, was it Terrence Howard? Terrence Howard?
I couldn't tell you.
Have you seen Iron Man 1?
Yeah.
So I forget his name. The general fella, the one who puts on the suit in silver, the original one before they changed him. Sure, his name's Terrence Howard, something like that. Well, he's making massive waves at the moment. Massive waves. Because I didn't realise all his life. I mean, this man is so intelligent. He reckons he can remember being in the womb, and he was learning about the flower of life when he was 6, or studying the flower of life when he was 6. That was his sole purpose in life. And he's completely trying to change the decimal system, mathematics as we know it today.
There is a Terrence Howard.
That's him. That's the fella. Yes. If I'm telling you now, Russ, at the end of the show, Google him and watch some TikToks on him, because he's got loads of stuff on TikTok. James Rhodes. Yes, thank you, Sandra. Bless your heart. Colonel James Rhodes. Yes. Watch anyone watching. Put his name in, not James Rhodes, but Terrence Howard on TikTok. I think there's more on TikTok, and just watch some of the videos of what he's explaining. Now, going back to ancient civilizations, Russ, almost every single one of them all around the world that have been found have all had a scribe, a carving or something of the flower of life. And he's saying, you know, his ultimate goal is, if we want the human race to survive in the future, it's so hard for me to explain because I haven't got this man's knowledge, but he's basically depicted the flower of life. Do you know what the flower of life is? It's, yeah. So it's always been sort of looked at and as a 3D sort of model. Well, he's done it as he's exploded it and put it as a 5D model, and that's just opened up everything. And the maths that we know and learn today is not correct to a certain, everything's on maths. Everything we do is mathematics, isn't it?
Yeah.
If it's slightly off, there's only so far we can go. And all these ideas and everything he's done, he's already patented. He made sure he patented. So not so he gets the credit, it's that someone else don't come in and try and finish his work and say, right, I'm going to stick a patent on that. This is how it goes. But I urge people to watch some videos on him. But this is what goes back. So in his way of thinking, to progress as a human race, we need to follow the way that it's been tried before in the past. People have tried to do what he's done before. He said, you try and look them up now, it's really hard to find these people because they've been wiped from history. Why have they been wiped from history? And it always goes back to that same scenario. The elites, they don't want us to grow and know stuff for ourselves. They want us to be dumbed down and work your 9 to 5, pay your taxes, keep them up there and keep us pushed down here, But anyway, I digress. All these ancient civilizations all had some sort of depiction of the flower of life. And what if they had discovered what he's discovered, and that was their way of getting the maths right and doing what they done in Interstellar. They've left the planet or come here, like you said, Russ. And that's the emblem they've used, the flower of life, to say, yes, we've made it. It's, again, there's so many scenarios, so many ways of looking at it.
I'm just trying to get a picture for everybody up of the flower of life, so people can see it.
And again, he goes on about the frequency. Yeah, there you go. The body, how it's always been thought that the body works on electricity. Yes, it does work on electricity, but it mainly works on frequency. And he's in works with someone who has successfully been curing cancer and AIDS just using the machine that puts the correct frequency into the body.
Yes, I've seen this. I've experienced. I've actually delved into this because that's something that,
and he's saying, in the future, if you've got one of these in every hospital, it's
wrongly or rightly,
what's going to stop that from happening?
What is going to stop that from happening? Exactly.
Pharmaceuticals.
That's a lot of, a lot of things. That's a lot of, what would you call that? Not. I suppose it isn't though. If you look at it, you've got two ways of looking at that. That's, I was just about to say that's messing with the way of life, but then you put it on the other hand. If we're using this symbol to depiction the frequency to heal, then we're obviously being given that for a reason to heal. Do you know where I'm going with it?
Yeah, 100%. And he's saying, you haven't got to. The way he put it, his terms is, you haven't got to rip the body apart to cure it.
No, I agree.
Yeah, look at what we did, the operations. When it comes to cancers, chemo, radiation. You're trying to cure one part, but it also sometimes destroys the other part. Whereas if you're using the frequency correctly, it apparently tightens all your DNA and pushes all the bad stuff out. So it unites the body. A bit like your chakras, Rush, it's that sort of thing. When you do your meditation, you align your chakras, you get that frequency just right. And how good you feel when you've done a bit of healing.
But why would we? This must be a thing. This mustn't, this isn't, you put it, this what's his name? Terrence Howard. He can't be the only person that has worked this out.
No, he isn't. And he's openly admitted that. He's progressed a lot further than most. And, it's not just the frequency side of things. I mean, like I say, if you watch some of these videos, he's on all aspects of life. He just, I find him quite mind-blowing. But, there's been doctors and people, scientists in the past, over the last 100 years, that have had 99% healing people using frequency, using different methods, using this, using that. Why are these things never progressed? Why is it there's always one type of thing when it comes to certain illnesses, when there's a safer, easier way that's been proven to work? Why do they never get to come out? Money. It's the only reason.
I get it. I get it. I get it. I just can't. Being, on the side of watching someone go through chemotherapy, Okay, and there's worse cases and radiotherapy and radiation, everything like that. We all know someone that's been through it, but first case hand for me, I've watched that, I've seen that, and that's what gets to me the most, that I've watched someone go through that.
It's the frustration more than anything for me.
Yeah, and I'm not saying we have to use this, full intents and purposes. If someone breaks their arm, or someone has to have their, an operation. I'm not saying we can stop
terminal illnesses, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is, and I'm with it. I'm still, I get an earache, I have antibiotics. I get a toothache, I go to the dentist, I have antibiotics. I get a headache, I take paracetamol. I'm a diabetic, I have to insulin. I get it. Yeah. I don't think I should be healed from that. That's a prolonged, I don't need that circle of life, the tree of life, the flower of life to heal me from that. I don't, because I'm being managed by that. And if I've got an illness, and your sniffly knows. But when it comes to sort of illnesses that will ultimately change your life, and I'm not talking about, because I have to inject, it doesn't change my life. I carry on. I can still do everything I want to do. But with people like cancer and that are on chemo, it takes years to get back to any sort of normality, because that chemo, the radiation that has gone through that body, has totally decimated it. That is when we should be using that frequency meter.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
No one has to play God here.
No.
No one has to play God. That's not what I'm saying. I still think we will need hospitals. I still think that there is.
Oh God, yeah.
I think there is enough. There's enough case to say that. How can people, knowing they've got that instrument, that method, sit there and go to sleep at night when they see a child with cancer sitting in that bed, struggling, and we're talking about a 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old child, then play God.
Yeah.
Do not put that child, let that child have a life.
I totally agree, 100%.
That is where that riles me. Fair if the kid falls off a tree, breaks its arm, needs an operation. You done it, mate. Go and get your operation done. And take your arm like every other kid. You're not going to have the warrant of the tree of life thing. You're not going to have it. You done it yourself. I get it. But when it comes to these harsh illnesses that you see daily, that people struggling after hour, children after hour, after days, and we can't use it. I can't see it. Mandy Rogers, I've been through it with cancer 9 years ago. I hope you feel, I hope you're sort of on the other side of it and in remission, Mandy. But how does that make you feel? Knowing that there's potentially an instrument out there, a vibration, a frequency that could help you and save you go through what you went through. And no one deserves to go through cancer. I'm sorry, no one does.
No.
It's especially if there is a cure for it.
There was a doctor, wasn't there? That I'm pretty sure I sent you the video a few weeks back. I think it was in America, or I think it was America, but he wasn't American. I think it was German or Austrian or something like that. And it was a similar sort. I can't remember if it was a frequency thing he had, but there was something he used And he was taken to court because he was saying he was curing cancer. And they tried to prosecute him and send him to prison for life. It was only the fact that he had over 100 of his patients turn up who had all been told they had terminal cancer, all been told they had terminal illnesses, given months to live, this and that. And over 100 of them turned up to the court case and gave evidence, 3 years after they was meant to have passed away and things like that, and they're completely cancer free or leukemia free, this, that. He'd done a lot, and the judge had no option but to obviously case closed. But nothing else come off his program. I think he still practices as a doctor now, but it was like the program was shut down. And this was something that he was established. I'll dig that video up again, Russ. I've got it on my phone. I know I've got it on my phone. So I will dig that up again and I'll send it back to you. But because I can't remember his name, but I can't remember if that was the same sort of thing, whether it was a frequency thing or something else.
It makes your blood boil.
100%.
Good night, Sandra.
Night, Sandra.
This is where we have to go back to this. Let's try and keep it to. I keep it to topic of show. It's not like we've gone down a rabbit hole here. We've sort of just gone off kilter. But let's put it to this. Meaning of this show, we're talking about the interstellar film, where it needs to go, and maybe going to different planets to live and habitat and things like that. Yeah. Say if we can only take a certain amount of knowledge with us, okay? Now, what that is, I don't. It could be many things. Obviously, if we're looking at history, we don't take history with us because we make it up by the feel of it as we go.
But this is the thing. See, part of that film was he was going, if he didn't find a way of getting this space station up, then they were all done for. So he was basically going to not take knowledge with him, but to get the knowledge to help the human race survive.
But that's what I'm saying. That, let's look at it as a bigger picture. This was happening now. Yeah. There is some spacecraft being built, if not being built, if not the space station that is supposed to be in orbit above us. Yeah. So maybe that is our life raft, ready to go. If anything happens, we know we've got people up there that can take the human race forward. Potentially, yeah. We think, that's hard to think and things like that. But say that is, there must be something that they can't physically take every bit of knowledge and working with them. If that makes sense. I know that this gentleman in the film is going to try and get the spacecraft to lift up and leave, but that spacecraft, even though it may not be in the film, but in my head would have said that would have to be full of knowledge to take forward as well. So that's going to have seeds, things like that, how it works, how this is worked. Say if something like this tree of life or the flower of life is waylaid in that. Maybe that's not the importance, because we can still heal because we know how to do. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know if that is a part of the most fundamental thing that would have to go. And maybe this Terrence Howard and the people that be in are the ones that are looking forward, and we're getting to this point where that history's always been there, but it's just enough digging to re-find it that we once already had it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
There has to be priorities on what
That's
goes.
exactly what so I'm not changing the subject, I'm sort of agreeing with you here. The flower of life has been found in hieroglyphs and carvings in all the ancient civilizations, and it's just been broken out again in the last 100 years by a couple of people that apparently have solved it. But that's basically what you're talking about. Say it was the same scenario. Just by breaking apart and decoding the flower of life, they've come up with all these different things that are going to help the human race progress, right? So that's what you're talking about. You can forget about history. You can forget about this. If this is the one thing that can help the human race survive, then that's the most important thing you take with you, isn't it?
History is only important to the people that are living.
Yeah.
Within a time span. You know, in maybe another 200 years, say if we're still on this planet, I can guarantee you now that if a show like this is existing, they will be questioning if the 2 world wars went on.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Mm.
It'll be a rabbit hole down a rabbit hole. You know, 300 or 400 years' time. There'll be 2 people like us saying, them wars never went on. Don't be stupid. You know? All the history. Because that's what we are doing when we're questioning history.
Yeah.
You know, because we can't prove it, we've got no one living from that time. It's going to happen when we are well gone. There's such a delay in the messages coming in, but you know, we know that. Mandy, seeing the children of cancer going through it all does more than break your heart. It does, and that's why if this does exist, yes, they say I'm all clear, but who knows? I'm grateful for being here today after having stage 4. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, so everyone's glad when it, you know, it's good to hear, and let's hope it stays in a positive way. And we'll send prayers and that out, so make sure it stays like that, hopefully. Okay, so it's good to hear you all clear. You know, I was dreading that back, to be fair, because sometimes you can put your foot in it, can't you? But no, Mandy, I'm glad that you're all clear and it's all going the way it should be. But no, just, you know, and that's how I see it. Maybe this one piece of artwork, for want of a better phrase, because that's all it is.
Yeah.
Is just a, as you say, just a depictionary bit of kit that answers every bit of questions that we need to know. You know, I don't quite know how they're depicting something that is not quite straightforward, but there's not much to it, is there? If that makes sense.
Well, yeah. I mean, there is and there isn't. I mean, I look at it and I don't think there's much to it, but we're looking at it in 2D. You know, it's like I say, if people are willing and they watch some of the videos, he does explain how he managed to decode it, and it does blow my mind. I mean, I'm not even going to attempt to try and, you know, explain how he done it, because it means nothing to me when he explains things. Yeah, certain things I understand, certain things I don't. But yeah, you know, some people just get it. You know, I think with him, I think he's a very, very intelligent person. He's one of them. He's like Beethoven on a piano. You know, he just knows. He just gets it. Yeah. And you know, people like that just fascinate me. And yeah, I'm in awe, sort of thing. You know, I wish I could understand things like that.
Well, maybe next week we can, you know, if we can get a few videos together, we might be able to play them out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'd love to. Yeah.
and see if he can sort of, it might help us, um, but this is a good comment. But I really do believe that we help to heal ourselves with our own energy.
Mm.
And I'm a strong believer of that, because I am a strong believer that we can take our own, how many times sometimes you can talk yourself into being ill, if that
Oh,
makes sense.
100%.
I think
100%.
sometimes, you can go, oh, I've got a sore throat. And then it's gone within a couple of minutes. Then you go, oh, I've got a sore throat. And at night, oh, I've got a sore throat. And the next day, I think you sometimes talked yourself into it. Or
Oh,
you've got an
the
headache.
mind is one powerful weapon, mate. It is
And,
one powerful tool.
and,
I know that for a fact. When I've done it to myself, when I had a bit of an anxiety disorder a few years back, the things that I was wrong with me, I end up causing them myself.
and I think that's your own belief and your own energy is so goddamn strong. It is so strong.
That's the other thing they say, isn't it, about the big bells? You never get the big bells anymore in churches and things like that. All across the world, you used to have these big bells in Tibet and China and this and that. And the frequency that they gave off, they reckon they were all healing. And that's
But
why, for some reason, over like 100 years ago, they started to get rid of all these bells and they never replaced them. They had a
but
mass clearing of all these big bells. It was a certain frequency, certain hertz that they give off, heal people.
and
Why
that would
would you want
make
to get rid of all that?
but that makes sense though, doesn't it? That makes sense because how many times do the singing bowl? The singing bowl.
Exactly the
You could
same thing, same
you could
frequency.
hit that singing bowl and you get goosebumps.
Mm.
Goosebumps. Now, why? Why do you get goosebumps at that? What is that hit to even help that? To make that? I think that's a good,
But what
crystal.
fascinates me with a singing bowl, Russ, it doesn't just emit frequency. It can change its
Frequency.
noise by receiving frequency.
Yeah,
Now,
definitely.
I remember
100%.
when you had to help me using the singing bowl, and when you come near me doing the same, as soon as it come near me, I had an attachment, didn't I?
Yeah.
The 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 sound just distorted straight away, and it sounded awful. So how does
And
that
that's
work? It's
because I
obviously
think
picking up on the frequency my body's giving off, or how I'm affecting.
the healing,
Yeah,
Mandy has said there, crystal healing helps me with all it. I say I use crystals a lot within when I do my readings and everything like that. And when I do my Reiki, I always interject with have healing crystals there. But it's I believe that we have a perfect frequency.
mm,
So when we are fully working, to the best of what our body can emit, I think with that singing bowl, it will pick up on a frequency that isn't right for you. So when we hit that singing bowl, and when I do it, and I look for the injury or the attachment or the problem, and it goes a little bit distorted or dead or whatever you want to call it, that would tell me that is how I see it happening. It's only how my head works. Is that I've hit the singing bowl, and that singing bowl has picked up your frequency.
yeah,
And when it gets to a point where it can't pick up your frequency, it deadens. So we know that it's something wrong there.
yeah.
No different to like a pendulum as well. When you run it down the body, that picks up that frequency and wobbles. So to me, that circle of life, the flower of life, or whatever we want to call it, obviously is a massive, massive cryptid clue of
Mm.
something that is, you look at it and you just think, how the hell where would you even start to depict that when there's nothing to depict? In my eyes, I look at it and think, what's there to depict? It's lines that are just, it looks, you know, in it, that's all that looks like. Someone's done that and done that. It really is so powerful, the energy we have within ourselves. I totally agree, Mandy. Totally agree. I say we are the key to a lot of things, and that is the big thing. We can find that within ourselves. We can find that energy within ourselves. I do think it's a bit of a healer. Well, I say a bit of a healer. I think it's a massive healer. I think we talk ourselves a lot of it, you know, like you said at the beginning of the show, Paul. You get tired, you put it to age, you put it to this, you put it to that. Well, no, age is all but a number.
Yeah.
We're all getting older. We don't get any younger. But maybe if we use our energy within us, we get that extra bit of sense that we need, that vibration, that frequency that we can, you know, and that point of feeling sorry for ourselves is a deadened frequency.
Yeah.
And we all get it. We've all been there. We all get tired. We all let that frequency go low, or that vibration go low. But why has it gone low? Because we've probably caused it ourselves by saying, I can't do this, I can't do that, I ache here, I can't do this, I can't do this. I'm the same. Today I've been shattered. I have been so tired today. It's been unbelievable. Anything I've really not wanted to do, I haven't wanted to do it. And then that makes you feel shit. Nearly a whole show without swearing. Only 4 minutes. 4 minutes towards the end of the show, and I think we've done all right. But we make ourselves feel this. We are our own worst enemies. If we let that natural
100%.
vibration ring out and be grateful for what we've got, then rather than what we haven't got, I think we are one step towards the power of healing ourselves. And we all know life comes to an end. We all know that. We're not all immortal. Spiritually, we are. This is just a vessel.
I was going to say, this life we're living at the moment, this physical life we're living at the moment will come to an end. But like you said, I think we'd carry on.
Yeah.
Energy is constant.
Yeah. That vibration that burns within us is constant. And as I say, I'm my own worst enemy sometimes. The aches, the pains.
We all are, yeah.
You know, but maybe sometimes we can look at it different and say, well, hang on a minute. I have just lifted this and I've just moved that. Of course I'm going to ache, you silly git. You know, why, instead of blaming it on my age, why? Why should I do that? You know, that vibration is still there and that energy is still there. Just deal with it. Just deal with it. So, and on that note, we have come towards the end of the show. And it has been quite a good show. If I say quite a good show, I've really enjoyed the show because it has meant something. It has really sort of meant what we've needed to speak about. And even if we have come from a different planet, or we could end up on a different planet, doesn't really matter, does it? If we've got this instrument that may be unearthed, maybe that is how this works. That is the key to it all. Who knows? We'll never know. But as I said earlier on, if this thing does produce energy that can heal, if anyone is listening out there and gets it and does come across this and you have that power, don't let the children suffer. Do not let the children suffer, because that is wrong. You don't play God to children. You don't play God to anybody, but do not let the children suffer. That is my only words. Do you know what I mean? I don't like that. That's something I don't like. But no, we have come towards the end of the show. Thank you for everybody that has joined us tonight on Pulse Talk Radio, Facebook, and YouTube. I hope you've enjoyed it. Mandy, thank you ever so much for joining us tonight. Sandra, Heidi, everybody that said hello, thank you. We shall be back next week, and hopefully, Paul, if we can get some videos of this Howard.
You're going to regret saying that.
Then, maybe we can just do a little bit more digging and see what his theories are and see how he is putting it in a way. We need layman's terms ones, I should think. So, but no, that would be good. And maybe we can carry on. Yeah, maybe we can just carry on this and just see where it leads. So, thank you for everyone that has joined us. Take care, stay safe, and we shall see you all next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for everyone that's joined us over on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for all your comments and all your, please join us again next week, every week, 8 o'clock on Facebook or YouTube. So, guys, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.